to Life of the Party.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm Amy Chamberlain of the Perfect Wife Restaurant and the Other Woman Tavern. Tonight, I have a wonderful guest. I happen to think he's wonderful. Tom Biggs, the meat man, is going to teach us how to make a delicious steak dish. And to top it off, an incredible sangria that's been a big hit at the restaurant. Are you ready, Tom?
I am ready,
Come on
Amy.
up.
Thank you.
So in the beginning of every show, I do a little interview segment. Today, I didn't come up with any formal questions because I figure we might have a little rapport already.
Yeah, there's going to be some banter. Yes. No.
So we met before our first date because you were selling me meat at the restaurant.
Yes.
And you've been doing that for a long time.
We've been selling meat for 19 years here in Vermont, and it's all locally Vermont-raised product, and I really support Vermont farming. So it's been a really good fit for Tom as a job, and it's fun. And that's how I met Amy, and I've met a lot of other really great friendships throughout my 16 years of selling meat here in New England and the Northeast. So it's been a challenge, but right now I think we have it pretty well dialed in, and the meat program here in the state of Vermont is actually flourishing, doing really, really well.
Farmers are farming.
Farmers are farming. We're keeping the condominiums off the land, encouraging young farmers to get their nails dirty, and they can actually make money, which is great.
Yeah, that's the
Yep.
important thing these days.
It is very important, and a lot of the things that have been happening, your third generation, fourth generation farm families, the kids are seeing how hard their moms and dads worked in the industry, and they don't really want to do that and repeat that, way of living. So here's a way, there's an avenue that we've created for farmers to come out, raise high niche meat products, or other, poultry, anything, that can generate them a dollar that is
worthy of the work,
can
the
make
hard
a living.
work that
Yeah,
they do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Eliminating the
Scraping by.
eliminating the middle person in the equation. Mm-hmm. You give the farmer the money. They set the price, what they deserve.
And I think what you do is very important as you go to restaurants, you can explain this to people, and the chefs feel your enthusiasm, like I did, and say, well, I got to get some of this meat because it tastes good, it looks good, it's helping people, the customers will love it, you can get a little more money for it. It doesn't, you're not making a lot more money on it, but you're helping out a lot of people in the end. And the overall thing is that you know where your meat came from and it tastes delicious because of that and because of the way it's raised. So let's tell these guys what you read on the internet the other day.
Oh, this is really scary. I was working at home and I came across an article that was forwarded to me via email about it was, I guess, a small industry in China where they were taking pork and putting paraffins and red dyes into the pork and calling it beef. Fake beef.
In China.
In China. Now, whether or not any of this made it over here to the United States, I do not know. However, there was, 22 tons?
22 tons.
Was confiscated by the Chinese government.
Police.
Yeah, which is kind of scary stuff. So back to what Amy just said, it's really important, and I think one of my greatest feelings ever is to let people be aware, to educate the folks. This is where your product comes from, the transparency to the consumer, to the chef in the restaurant, that, hey, you know what? This was raised here, it was fed here, it was processed here, it was distributed here, and it's being sold here in the state. So it really,
cooked here,
yeah,
and eaten here.
And eaten here. And instead of, animals traveling, 5,000 miles before it even gets to your counter or your kitchen, we have some chefs that our product hasn't, traveled 80 miles?
Yeah.
less than 80 miles. So the footprint, the whole green thing, if you will,
Yeah. Carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint, that's what we're really trying to work on here. And I believe that the industry, the meat industry, has really taken a turn for its best. It's going the momentum right now is huge in the state of Vermont. Yes.
And the Vermont meat is actually desired in the bigger cities as well.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
That's
So
good.
we're bringing that brand outside of the state borders into institutions, hospitals, if you will, schools, colleges. It's been quite interesting to see the turn of your, I guess, my customers. Where it used to be just the chef.
Yeah.
Now it's Middlebury College, it's University of Vermont, it's Smith College, it's
Fletcher Allen.
Fletcher Allen Hospital, yes.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but it's been fun, and to follow the demand, that's been our challenge, which
And
seems to be
the
working.
meat is good because you get a lot of samples. And
Yes. We love our job. Yes.
And I was the recipient of one of these samples, cooked on the first time Tom ever came to my house and cooked for me. He brought a hanger steak and cooked it in the manner that he's going to teach me today. I've actually never seen him do it. It's always, if he's in the kitchen, I don't even want to be there because it means I can relax and watch football or whatever it is I'm doing, picking flowers, I don't know.
It's hard to
Lying around
share
eating
great
bonbons.
recipes, but this one's a classic, folks. It's very simple. In my past job that I had, I was starting to broker Vermont meat products, and one of our favorite farmers, Mark Boyden, gave me a New York strip steak, just a little retail package of a strip steak. He's here, Tom, take it. You're going to be selling it. Take it, try it. So on my way home from Rutland that night, I stopped at a friend's restaurant in Pulteney, and we were talking. I was making a delivery actually to them on my way home, and we're talking about different ways of cooking, and they started talking a lot about balsamic vinegar and garlic. And anyway, that conversation ended. They wanted to go home. I wanted to go home. And I took this strip steak, and I went home and fired up, made a cocktail first. That's always important. And fired up the saute pan, and I prepared this strip steak the way we're going to do this tonight. And it's been a hit ever since I've been going on first dates. And
I'm the only one, right?
Yes, I know. And it's really simple. The flavor profiles that will come out, you'll see what our ingredients are. In such a simple matter, you've created this really quick, beautiful dish of meat.
Okay, enough meat talk. Tell us about
Okay.
the sangria. Where did you get that recipe? Just quickly hit on that,
Okay.
so we know what we're in for.
I was asked by Amy, actually back in May, to make a sangria up at the tavern. And everyone likes sangria. So basically I started reading a lot of different books, went online, Google sangria, and I spent about 3-4 hours online and just reading different things and found common denominators of what all these top mixologists were using in their sangrias. And I wrote it all down on my scratch sheets to this day. Amy's even bought me a book for my birthday to write all my recipes in, but the old farmer Tom just writes on a piece of paper and puts it on a napkin, yeah. So I started experimenting up at the tavern, and I found it's interesting because I'm a Gemini, so there's two ways of going about doing things, either by taste bud or by just experimenting. And when the two of them cross paths, the results are great. And our sangria, it's been great. I just add a little this, little that, and taste it, or wow, that looks good. And so it's a combination of a lot of different ingredients that you might not be aware of that make this sangria pretty
and you
special.
have to pay attention because he doesn't use any measuring anything. So.
Yes.
But it is delicious.
A little bit of this and a little bit of that. No, it's like, it's a lot of fun. Yes.
Well, I really would love to relive our first date.
I know.
It'd be great. So we're going to get to that.
This is our first date.
You guys
with
want
everyone,
to
yes.
have a little peek at our first date? Are you ready for us to start cooking? All right. So, Tom,
Here we are.
here we are. I met you in my kitchen, and I thought you were awesome, and we had lots of fun talks on the phone, but I didn't want to really let you into my life until I actually tasted your meat. So that worked, because it was delicious, and now we're going to share that recipe with everybody.
Yes, we are.
And me, because I haven't seen it. This is going to be a little tough, because I've never actually stood by his side while he cooked. I'm going to have to keep my mouth shut and say, no, don't do that, do this. This is the way you should do it, because it's not my recipe. And I'm the kind of person who would like to stand next to him and tell him what to do. So, hit it.
Okay. When I first prepared this, I was using strip loin like we said earlier. But tonight we've chosen to use a flat iron steak, which is just a piece off the shoulder clod of the beef. Very tender, well marbled, and it pan sears very quickly. So it's not a big, thick, plumpy piece of meat that you're going to spend, 25 minutes over the stove getting all shot with grease and everything. Anyway, so the flat iron steak, as you will taste later on, is a very delicious cut off the shoulder. So what I do is I spritz a little olive oil on top, put a little olive oil in the pan, like that. You take some butter, because everything is better with butter. I take some pepper on the steak. Now, one thing that I always learned from chefs that I worked with, you never want to salt a steak until you're ready to put it in the pan, because the salt will actually start taking the juices out of the meat. So you always wait till the end on that, okay? So we're going to salt this a little bit. And we're going to put this right in there, like so. Excuse my hands, chef.
And a little chef tip. Mixing oil and butter in the pan is good, because the oil has a higher flash point. It won't burn as easily. So when you mix it with the butter, it lowers the flash point of the butter, but it also gives you the flavor of the butter. So you can put butter in there without it burning right away. If he had just put the butter in there, it would have turned black immediately.
Yes,
so.
That is a great tip, Amy. And after I put the steak in there, I do finish it a little bit more with pepper and salt on this one side. So we want to sear this piece of meat for about a minute, minute and a half. And nice hot temperature, brown it all the way through. And I don't know, I usually test it by taking my tongs and just pressing it down to see my desired first side finish. And then that's a good tool to use is the tong when you cook meat, because you don't want to use a fork and pierce the meat to flip it, because once you start putting holes into the meat, the juices are going to run out, and you're losing, once again, the valuable flavor and moisture inside the meat. So,
so smart, isn't he?
That was a great first date.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of this, though, because of my business. I practiced a lot at home. And a lot of great chefs have taught me little hidden secrets in this business.
Have I taught you anything?
Yes, you have. Absolutely. And
don't bother to come up with it right away.
No, actually, it was the butter and oil.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was, Amy.
Oh.
Yes, it was the butter and oil.
Have I taught you that, Mom? Oh. Well, you learned something new today.
So what we try to do is just monitor your temperature. You don't want it to burn. You want it well seared. And in about a minute or so, we're going to flip this over, Chef. And then we're going to get into the real details of this sexy little steak dish here.
While it's searing, maybe you can talk about why that piece of meat looks so delicious.
Well, there's a lot of beautiful fat in it. And fat is flavor. We call fat marbling. The steak is also very delicious because if you look at the anatomy of a beef cow, the flat iron steak comes off the chuck roll. I always use my body to describe the parts.
Yeah, imagine him on all fours, yeah, eating grass.
And it hangs close to the heart. And so therefore, it's getting a lot of blood flow through the muscle, which gives you a really good flavor. Now, this is one of these offcuts, actually. 10 years ago, you couldn't even...
Ooh, tilt that up. Show that to the camera.
10 years ago, no one even knew what this cut was. It was one of those not so high-end cuts. Everyone was eating the middle meats, your ribeye, your strip, your tenderloin, and the hanger steak, the, what was it? The hanger steak, the shoulder tender, the flat iron, the Denver cut off the top butt, baseball steaks. These were unheard of cuts. Well, now because of the price of beef and everyone wants to make money in a restaurant, the chef bottom line is, am I making money? They start going into these not so high-end cuts in the past 3-4 years. Now what we're seeing is these not so high-end cuts are becoming just as valuable as the middle meat. So,
for instance, how much would that cost retail? You think
retail, you probably pay $9 a pound in the store, retail. So one thing that's very critical in this application, though, is to take your juices and you just kind of baste real quick, keeps the moisture onto the steak. And I usually will do that once or twice during the cooking time.
Pretty much glazing it in its own fat.
In its own fat, yes. Yeah. And so really what we've seen a trend in our beef industry is that we cannot keep enough of these not so high-end cuts anymore in-house. And it seems like the middle meats, the ribeyes, the strip loins, and the tenderloins, no one really wants to buy anymore because of the cost per pound, etc.
Well, when you can cook well, you can do a lot of things with meat that's a little less expensive.
Yes.
And in fact, I think that the opinion of the customer now is going away from the filet mignon because they realize there's no marbling in there. It's just a tender piece of meat with very little flavor. So
you can see I kind of marinated it again in its own fat and gravy, or I should say juices. I'm going to wait another couple seconds and then we're going to get into the delicious aspect of this. And basically what I do here now is I take a good wad of butter, like so. I take some garlic.
this garlic is from Rocco Family Farm in Sandgate. A nice boy named Jesse came and brought it to me along with some really great potatoes. You're going to have some rose blush mashed potatoes with white truffle oil in them to go with this steak tonight. A lot of local stuff we're eating. Local lettuces, local tomatoes on your salad.
So basically we're sauteing the garlic real quick. We don't want to brown it or burn it. We're just trying to soften it up. Take a note, Chef?
I am. Well, you're so good at it. I think I would be like, boom, and turn around.
Nope, you want to keep it, you want to keep agitating it, moving it around.
Because you're a boy. A girl would try to multitask. A boy's like,
yep.
doing one thing, I'm going to do it well.
That we do. So.
Is that how it goes? Don't bother me, I'm cooking steak. Don't burn that.
I won't. So now this is balsamic vinegar. And this is how we're going to finish this whole glaze on the steak. So the garlic has sauteed for about a minute or so. The steak's been on for what, maybe 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes at the most, right?
Yeah, once it rests, that'll be perfectly medium rare.
We try to cook meat rare to medium rare. That's how I prefer to taste the real, that's the real profile of any beef. Don't you agree?
Yeah, don't burn
so
that.
I won't. So we put that on there like so.
Now you're deglazing.
Deglazing, yep, all the nice stuff like that.
See how that vinegar is reducing into like a syrupy glaze?
And then I just spoon that over like so. Remove it from the heat into the pan to rest. Pour that over like so. And you know what? That is first date steak.
Sold. You got a girlfriend.
Thank you. I have a wonderful girlfriend.
So you can't have steak without a cocktail. And we're going to clean this greasy mess up, and we're going to come back and show you how to make Tom's amazing red sangria. Okay, Tom. This has become your monster at the restaurant. Every week you got to make more sangria. Red sangria, white peach sangria. Well, here you are making it again. But lucky us. So this recipe that you refuse to teach anyone else to do.
Job security.
Right.
Yes.
That's one of your things.
Yes.
We're going to pay close attention. So if you ever want to go away and we need sangria, we can help out.
That would be great. So
Okay.
we're going to show everyone how to do this.
All right.
It's very easy, and you can see our ingredients are extensive, not like a simple sangria. So the first thing we're going to do is pour a little sugar in there, like that. And then I like to put brandy. You don't have to, but I like to pour brandy into it.
That's apricot brandy?
Yep. If you really want to go high end on this, Calvados makes an apple brandy.
Calvados is apple brandy.
Yeah, it is apple brandy, yes.
I could teach you that.
Calvados works really well in this red sangria. So that's apricot brandy. Here's lemon juice. A little splash of that. Now, one secret ingredient that I learned about when I was Googling all this, everyone uses lemon, not everyone, a few select mixologists used lemonade concentrate. So I pour a little of that in there.
This is not a low-calorie cocktail.
No, it's not. And then a little Applejack.
That stuff's very good.
Yes.
That works well in sauces. If you want to make like an apple cider cream sauce for chicken, and you reduce some of that in your pan, you deglaze the pan with Laird's Applejack. It's delicious.
Yummy, yes. Triple sec for the orange flavor. If you want to go high end using Calvados, I would use Cointreau or Grand Marnier. You know, so there's, yeah. You like that?
It depends on if it's your first date or your 50th date. This is obviously not our first date.
So, at this point,
You had me at the meat.
I know, we did. Now I introduce the fruit
Hello,
into...
fruit. This is liquor.
This is liquor. And what I like to do is have the fruit sit in the liquor. And we'll stir it up a little there, chef. Like so. And this gets everything working around. Oh, thank you.
Get in there. Dig deep. And
There we go.
you really want it to sit for a day or two, right?
In the refrigerator, yeah. You can get, I mean, you can make it in the morning and actually
Have
drink
it for lunch.
For lunch, yeah. You can make it and taste it and sample it right away. There's, you know, you can drink it right now. No. So at this point, once the fruit and the liquor have met each other in their quick introduction, I add the red wine.
Now they're acquainted.
Yep. And you can use, I believe this is a 1 gallon container. Mm-hmm. So you can use a bottle of wine in a 1 gallon container like this. When we make it up at the tavern, we use a fancy jar, and that'll be, you know, 4 bottles of wine and all the other ingredients. So we stir that around.
Left-handed, because it makes the sangria better. Oh, OJ.
And then the last component of this is the orange juice. And then there's a lot of other juices you could probably add to this, but we'll stick with orange juice right now. If you wanted to get creative, you could get some pineapple juice and add a little pineapple juice. What I'd like to do at this point, once Amy's agitating it and stirring it all around, I would go buy blackberries, and I'd probably float blackberries on the top of this to let it sit. And we typically let our sangria sit for 2 days in the cooler before we serve it. And it does bring on the fruit sitting in the wine and the juices and the liquors. Kind of it absorbs everything. It kind of mixes all together, and you'll start tasting the oranges. You'll start tasting the apples.
You'll see the waitresses start eating the oranges.
Yes.
And start eating the apples.
And then you see Amy slapping my hand when I dump the oranges and the apples. It's
and one thing too, with the seeds, Tom likes to take the seeds out because in this little spigot, if you're using something like this, they really foul things up.
Yep. And
Then
another
you got to drink it out of the top.
Another quick little tip too, folks, is that leave the skin on the fruit, because the meat, the fruit, the skin protects the meat. Everything's meat, in my eyes, is meat. Anyway, if you expose it, the alcohol is going to start breaking it down, and then it's going to get very, very pulpy on you in like 2 or 3 days. Like I say, we let it rest for a couple days. So the skin on the fruit is a protection layer to the alcohol permeating the fruit. So you don't want to skin fruit.
All right.
And there's your sangria.
So, you want to try it?
I would love to.
You don't have a glass, so.
Nope. So we just go like this.
It's good. I get to try it too.
Oh.
Whoa. It should be drunk that way all the time.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have so much, probably. Thanks, Tom.
That's a successful
fun.
first date, Abe. Yes.
Now I'm going to go slip into something a little more comfortable.
Nice. Yes.
So that was fun. Thank you.
I appreciate you having me out to show this.
I can't wait to eat meat and drink sangria with everyone. So thanks, Tom.
Amy, you're very welcome. It was a lot of fun.
Duncan's here to show us what can happen after a successful first date.
Whoa.
Not on the first date, after the first date.
Okay.
All right. This is my 10-year-old boy.
Food? Yeah.
Yeah? You going to eat some good meat?
Yeah.
All right. And drink some non-alcoholic sangria. Is there such a thing? I don't think so.
No, I'm just gonna
The rest of us are. We're going to have chocolate cake, though, and mashed potatoes. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you,
everyone in the studio audience. Thank you in TV land. We'll see you next time on
Life for the Party!